Hello, this is Cliff Brock with World Travel Plus. We search out the places that the travel brochures and the travel agents don't tell you about so you don't have to. Join us today to see where we've wandered next.
Today we're in the city of Rhodes, the largest island in the Dodecanous chain of Greece. This has only been part of Greece since 1948. The island's history goes back 10,000 years of human habitation. One of the most beautifully preserved cities in all of Europe. The old town is worth the walk, and be sure and get some of the famous licorice flavored anise tinged ouzo while you're here. Let's go and see what's going on in this ancient medieval city.
Normally we don't talk about really popular tourist sites, but I must say the Palace of the Grand Master of the Knights of Rhodes, also known as the Castello, is a must-see. It's a medieval castle sitting in the middle of town. I've been known over the years, Mid and I have been to Europe and other parts of the world many times, and I've been known to say, Mid, I've seen enough castles and cathedrals to last me a lifetime. I want people. And I still feel that way. But I'll make an exception for the Castle of Grand Master. It is an architectural gem, and it stands out as one of the rare examples of Gothic architecture within Greece. It was constructed late in the 7th century as a Byzantine citadel. The palace underwent significant transformations when the Knights Hospitalier took control of Rhodes in 1309, but who's counting? They converted the fortress into their administrative center and residences for their Grand Master. Over the next 100 or so years, they made a lot of modification to enhance its functionality and grandeur. And believe me, that grandeur endures to today. But they faced some challenges. In 1481, an earthquake caused damage, and it was quickly repaired. Then later, the Ottoman Empire captured Rhodes, that would have been in 1522, and the palace served as a command center and a formidable fortress. By the 20th century, an Italian architect, Vittorio Mesterino, undertook restoration work right before World War II. That would have been between 1937 and 1940. That work has been criticized for historical inaccuracies, but the restoration really did revive parts of the castle. Start again. It did become a holiday residence for the King of Italy, Victor Emmanuel III, and later for fascist dictator Benito Mussolini. Today, the Grand Master stands as a monument to the island's rich history. It blends Byzantine, Gothic, and Italian influence. Its walls are beautiful, and its storied past continues to captivate visitors. It offers glimpses into an era of knights and emperors and architectural marvels that has long been lost in our world today. It is worth a visit to Rhodes just to see this beautiful castle. One of the best preserved elements in the castle are these beautiful mosaic floors. Hundreds, if not thousands, of people over history have walked on these floors. The grand halls with their pillars and really, for medieval times, large windows. Absolutely gorgeous surroundings. As you walk through these rooms, you can almost hear the tinkle of the wine glasses, smell the tallow and the beeswax of the candles, hear the rustle of the ladies' dresses. Walking up the streets of the Knights of St. John makes you feel like you've gone back 300 years in history. You can almost hear the clomp of the horses walking on these sidewalks. See the garrisons with their soldiers, festooned with their ribbons. It really moves you back in time in this walled city. This is a castle that is not only stunningly beautiful, but it is rich in its backstory. The sun god Helios fell in love with a beautiful nymph named Rhodes. When his sunlight finally touched her skin, she transformed herself into an island. The name Rhodes also means rose in Greece, and that's fitting given the abundance of flowers on the island. Legend claims that the first person to live there was Melama, one of Hercules' sons, who divided the island into 3 parts and founded the 3 Rhodian city-states of Chimeras, Iliasus, and Lindus. Rhodes was home to one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, the Colossus of Rhodes. It was erected in Lindus in the 4th century, and it was a paean to the sun god Helios, stood 108 feet tall, about the height of the Statue of Liberty in New York. Unfortunately, an earthquake damaged parts of it in the 3rd century BC, and it was later destroyed by a general in the 7th century. We don't always, in fact, we usually try to use trains and buses when we're in Europe, but sometimes it's just good to have your own transportation, and we did that on our visit to Rhodes. A lot of backcountry. We went up and over the mountains and down the seacoast. We did a circumnavigation of the island, and it was well worth it. We had some adventures that the tour buses and the tour guides and the travel agents simply could not plan for a travel going to that part of the world. It was worth it. We picked up our rental car and headed south. We were headed down to Lindos, but between Lindos and Rhodes is 7 Springs. We were traveling with Canadians Dave and Shelley Malone, and Dave said, "You know, the spring is really beautiful. Let's go ahead and stop there and have a look at that." So we did. Except Dave had gotten his memory in the 20 years since he had been there a little turned around. We ended up with goats, ducks, and other wildlife, but we never found the spring. We turned around and went on the trail the other direction, and it took us in a big circle back to the parking lot. So we got in the car and headed to Lindos. We got to Lindos, and quite honestly, it was packed with tourists. We said, well, maybe what we'll do is just drive over the mountain and come up the west coast of Rhodes and see what the countryside looks like. As so often happens when you ad-lib, we got a surprise. We had been told that there is a tax advantage in Greece if you have a church on your property. So as you go about the various towns and villages, you'll frequently see little chapels all over the place. And lo and behold, as we left Lindos and left the lake and began our climb over the mountains, we came to this beautiful little chapel sitting out in the middle of nowhere. Of course, we had to stop and look at it. I'd tell you the name, but I can't even begin to pronounce it. It was a beauty. Enchanted, we left the little church and drove on up the mountain. We crested one hill, and a little man was standing in the middle of the road, beckoning us. We looked up, and it was Achilles' kiosk. We couldn't do anything but stop.
Paparazzi.
Yes.
€5.
€5?
€5, yeah. Okay?
And what is your name?
Achilles.
Achilles? Oh, Achilles.
Achilles. Yeah.
Achilles sells the olives and olive products that he and his wife have either made or grown, and he delivers a delightful banter.
Did you make my wife little business home? Me, you, me, open me. Okay. No. You husband? You husband?
Yes.
You laugh too much, eh? Yeah? I look the photo.
What a delightful time on Rhodes. We've enjoyed the people, Achilles, the little church, the splendor and the emptiness out of driving across the mountains, that magnificent castle. This is a place that Mid and I really hope we'll get to return to. Rhodes is definitely one that you should put on your list for visit. Thank you for joining us on our visit to Rhodes and all its attendant splendor. Come back soon and join us again in more World Travel Plus explorations.